And Mississippi State on the road in Columbia. It was never going to be easy. And the Bulldogs never trailed, but they needed overtime to get the job done. Now 4-3 in the SEC, 16-4 overall. 65-60 our final score for Perry Clark. I'm Roy Philpott. Down to Gainesville we go. Mike Morgan, Mark Wise. Gentlemen, take it away.
And we welcome you to Gainesville, Florida, the O'Connell Center. He is Mark Wise. I am Mike Morgan. The 5th-ranked Florida Gators trying to pick up another win against the Georgia Bulldogs. They've beaten Georgia 11 straight. The Dogs right now still an NCAA tournament team. That man, Elijah Martin, has been absolutely electric. Already 11 points in a little more than 5 minutes of action. Kane has been the guy to lead the way for the Dogs. The sophomore has 5. Lawrence, the former Vanderbilt Commodore, looking for a ball screen. Here's the talented freshman Asa Newell, and he threw it away. Thought Kane was going to zig. Kane zagged. Fast break points per game. That is 4th best in the country. So if you turn it over against them, they're likely to make you pay quickly on the other end. Condon, backdoor cut. Clayton was held. What makes this Florida offense so difficult to defend?
But I've seen several adjustments from what we saw Wednesday night in Columbia, because really South Carolina blanketed Florida on the perimeter.
Right.
Remember, the first play of the game was a backdoor action for Clayton. Coming out of the ATO, backdoor action for Clayton. They are trying to run things to release that pressure on the perimeter.
Make them pay for the overplay. Florida kind of got beat up down low in that game against the Gamecocks. Houck and Condon and Chinulu had a tough time with Murray Boyles and Pringle.
Clayton got away with a lazy pass.
Shot clock down to 5 for Condon, working on Newell. Throws it right at the feet of Houck, and it'll be a turnover on Florida. Georgia's only down 5. They've taken a haymaker or two from Florida already, and now it's going to be another steal. And here comes Florida, off and running, alley-oop to Houck.
Just a wonderful recognition by Clayton. Georgia's got to be a little bit more careful with the ball. Fake a pass to make a pass.
Another turnover. This is going to drive Mike White crazy. It's been the problem for Georgia all year long. Second to last in turnover margin in the SEC. Martin slicing, dicing, finding a streaking Condon. Whips it up top. Great ball. Move it to Aberdeen. Inside Condon. Bumped and fouled. Count the basket and the foul.
Watch Walter Clayton's eyes on the 2-on-1 after the steal. Watch him look up and read the defense. Keep your eyes focused on his eyes. He saw the defender come to him. Perfect time for the lob. And then that last possession was textbook. Play the third side of the floor. Make the extra pass. I mean, Mike White, I know what he was upset about. Early on, Godfrey got called for that seal-off foul. And he felt like Florida has gotten away with a couple of similar seal-offs by their bigs.
Georgia has already turned it over 7 times in a little more than 7 minutes. And Florida's tough enough to beat without that.
Right.
If you start giving it away, it becomes a major problem, and it's helped pave the way for a 7-0 Gator run.
You referenced that Arkansas loss, 9 second-half turnovers by the Bulldogs.
Yeah,
when you combine that with not making any threes, that's a bad combination.
That one was a hard pill to swallow on the flight back from Fayetteville. I mean, Georgia, for the most part, has had a really good season, and the few losses that they've had have been to top 10 SEC teams. That one was the exception. They beat Kentucky early on. They beat Oklahoma when they were in the top 25. and trying to steal one on the road against 5th-ranked Florida today. James, little jump hook shot. The sophomore left it short. Streaking is Houck. Houck muscles it right on the Georgia defender. That was Justin Apson, who goes 6'9", 245. 3 ball. No. Houck flying in for another rebound. Finds his buddy Condon ahead. And a great job of hustling by Montgomery to prevent the dunk.
Take another look, Mike. In transition, Thomas Houck, 6'9". Watch how awkward of a catch this is. The ball, he's like a wide receiver. The ball's over his head. Yet he has the ability to gather and get the ball on the deck before he travels. What a wonderful play.
Houck was kind of a non-factor in that South Carolina game, but he has come out guns a-blazing early on here. Does cough it up on the turnover.
Too many dribbles without going anywhere.
Georgia trying to cut into a 12-point deficit. Another turnover. Terrific play to get it ahead to Richard, who draws the foul. High throttle Florida team that is running and gunning. It's a young man who said the last time he could remember a game winner, he was in middle school before he wound up at Woodward Academy. Edgar Thompson of the Orlando Sentinel had a great piece on him and why he came back, the maturity. The NBA said, look, we believe you've got some good skills, but you need to be more physical and be a better defender. Well, he now leads the team with 39 steals. He'll surpass his career high of 41 at Belmont, and he's putting together his best year in a Gator uniform.
I've said this several months now. I think he's evolved into a more well-rounded, complete player. Here's the same 1-2-2 that Florida had a lot of success with on the road.
Yeah, this baffled the South Carolina team that has struggled at the point guard spot. LeFew trapped in the corner. Probes the baseline. Great pass to Godfrey. Hanging, banging, and dropping it off the window and in.
Yeah, notice Godfrey back in the game. Mike White couldn't roll the dice. He's going to have to live with Godfrey and the 2 fouls.
Going to have to take that gamble the rest of the way. They need the former Clemson Tiger on the floor. Gators have made 7 consecutive shots. Clayton, make it 8. Sometimes Clayton just makes it look easy, doesn't he?
Yes. The turnovers, there's no defense for a bad turnover, and there's another one. That was in like the 3rd row.
It's got to drive. We talked to Mike White about this at shoot around this morning. It's got to drive a coach crazy because there's just no antidote to fix it. At the end of the day, your players have to make the right decision, crisp passes, the right ball handling, and they just haven't been able to get that.
Mike, how impressive has Georgia's defense been on the road this year? The highest number of points they have given up on the road in their 4 games, Georgia Tech, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Arkansas, was 26.
Wow.
Florida has 27, and we've got 10 more minutes to go.
A rare Florida turnover. Give Kane credit for the pilfer. 14-point game, under 10.5 to go in the first half from the Odo. Kick basketball, it will remain Georgia ball.
Florida's ability to read that pocket pass has been uncanny. Almost like they know it's coming.
Here's Demery. Weaving. Rejected out of bounds. Big time block by Sam Alexis, the junior from Apopka, Florida.
Yeah, Alexis has kind of had a hard time finding his role and his way. You want more minutes? Be a rim protector. Good late block, and the ball comes down off Demery, out of bounds.
A double whammy for Silas Demery, who's going to have to play a huge role if Georgia's going to spring an upset here. Richard hounded by Kane. They angle it into Alexis. Bellied up by Godfrey. Back to Richard on a rise and fire. And an air ball. A rare one at that for Will Richard.
I don't like that little sidestep off the bounce. I don't really think that's Richard's game. And Florida now rolling through their substitution patterns with Aberdeen on the floor. You'll see him stay on the floor as Todd Golden rolls around different substitutions to get everybody in the backcourt a breather.
It's a luxury that he has with the depth on this team. That's just a bad pass right into the hands of Chinua.
Well, it's not reading the middle linebacker at all.
Not at all. There was talk that Micah Hanlogden would play in this game as Richard buries the triple. How about that? An air ball in one possession, and then he drills the second one. But Micah Hanlogden thought about it, wanted to play, and then decided to not play as that three is hit by LeFew. So that remains a story in transition. At any point, he could decide to give up the red shirt and play this year. He's physically able, but it's really up to him in the final analysis. Martin, man, oh man. Florida is hot as a firecracker, 80% from the field.
And getting whatever shot they want.
Newell's been quiet. Hasn't been much of a factor yet, and then Condon just turned it over. There you see Micah Hanlogden. Yeah, the news came out. It started to be discussed yesterday, and then a tweet came out this morning. And then all of a sudden, you and I were at shoot-around for Georgia when Todd Golden came over and tapped Mike White on the shoulder and said, just so you know, he's not playing.
Wow.
Kane with another triple.
Mike Georgia's made 5 threes.
And when they're not turning it over, they're playing good basketball. That's the problem. Aberdeen, part of that great depth at the guard spot. Kane poked it. Richard got it. And then he got it to go. Will Richard, who on that game winner against the Gamecocks made it 1,000 career points in a Gator uniform, and is tacking on here in the first half. Newell for three. Is that a settle?
Oh, no question. It's a frustrated shot.
Plenty of frustration for Georgia in this first half. Richard feeling it. That's a heat check.
Yeah, I didn't like that one. Let it come to you. Florida's done a great job. The ball's had a lot of energy.
Newell angles it to his back front court. Nate Godfrey sets up the hook shot. And a nice box out by the Aussie Condon. Condon in the trees. It's back out to Martin. And Martin lost it. Demery on the steal. 3-on-1 Dogs. And a turnover on a 3-on-1. Now the Gators numbers the other way. Got to guard him. Richard heating up. Timeout, Georgia.
You cannot win games on any level with that kind of offensive productivity or lack thereof.
It's also led to 12 fast break points. I mentioned that number earlier. The Gators fourth in the country with 18 of those per game. They've already got 14, but Georgia at times has just given it away.
Now, if you're Georgia, win a segment. Just win a segment and see if you can get the fight of the game back in the middle of the ring.
Demery. Oh my goodness. Got all the way to the bucket and somehow missed it at point blank range. Martin, he turns it over.
Now good hands that time by Demery, I think, anticipating.
Kane backing in on Clayton. Clayton's a hard guy to back down, so strong. Tough shot, a block by Condon. Another block by Condon, and a rebound by Condon. One of the top shot blockers and rim protectors in the SEC.
Yeah, the ball stopped moving for Florida, and Georgia's trying to be active, handsy.
Shot clock down to 7 for Morton. Clayton, that's a 3. Condon, another board. Clayton to Condon. Passed up the 3. And a reset. No, Martin's going to launch it, and then Condon. You know, in Australian rules football, that's a legal play. In fact, they might reward you with a cold beverage after the game, but not in this case.
Take another look. Condon comes running in on Demery. I think that's the definition of a foul on the glass, is it not?
Yes. Yes. One of the reasons why opposing teams do not like going up against Condon. And he's going to bang with you. He'll pick up a foul here as he goes after Surreal on the shot down low.
Well, and that's the reason why the first foul on Condon was such a bad foul, because now he picks up another in back-to-back possessions. So now that's 3 on Condon. They couldn't get him out of the game fast enough.
It's 13 hours ahead back in Perth, Australia, where Father Damien and Mother Leah Condon watch their son play very often right here on the SEC Network. Our next SEC Network Saturday quadruple header will feature Ole Miss taking on number 22 Missouri at 6 o'clock Eastern Time, and then LSU will battle the 4th-ranked Alabama Crimson Tide.
A lot of numbers, Mike. Every time we do a promo on games, a lot of numbers.
Right now, Joe Lunardi has 13 teams in the field from the Southeastern Conference. The record, by the way, is the Big East years ago with 11. Clayton just slipped. And fortunate not to turn it over. Instead, they get Kane on a reach-in.
Well, this is when things just don't go your way. Clayton falls down. Kane reaches in. Clayton falls down on his own.
Now, this is one of those. I'd be very curious, Mark, as a former coach. You're Mike White at Georgia.
Yeah.
This has to be one of the most frustrating 20 minutes a team can play, especially on the road against a top 10 team in Florida. What is the message in the locker room?
Yeah, well, the first message is get to the locker room.
Yes.
You've got to play better to get there.
Right.
And then you can start talking about, okay, what can we do differently in the second half?
Mike White, who during his time as the coach here at Florida, one of the only coaches in college basketball, 4 straight years of not just making the NCAA tournament, but winning a game in the NCAA tournament. Also made it to an Elite 8 with the Gators in 2017. Strong take. Oh, Montgomery was open up top. They missed him. Lawrence, tough shot.
It's so impressive when guards get back in and help the rebounding effort.
20-point game as we approach 4 minutes to go. Richard wanted the foul, does not get the whistle. And now Clayton on a steal. Clayton to Richard, got it!
That looked like the winning
game
shot
winner.
we just saw.
We know one thing, Will Richard, a right-handed player, can go left.
20 points off turnovers.
Kane. Now Clayton. Tries to sneak it through the wilderness, can't do it. He's slow getting up. Georgia will have numbers if they push it. Montgomery, Euro step, block foul, no basket. And with 3:24 to go, Florida continues to.
The NCAA tournament with the Final Four, and I really wish we didn't, because it just it tells me you have no idea how hard it is to win one game in the tournament, or to win two and get to the second weekend. That's really hard to do.
And there's never been a team that's won it all that didn't have just a little bit of luck.
Oh, no question.
It's really hard to just go through the gamut and not have to catch a break or two. There you look at it right now. How about Vanderbilt? I mean, they got Kentucky today. If they pull that off, you and I had Coach Byington in the Sun Belt Championship, and James Madison. They were the kind of the Cinderella darling last year. They won a game in March. I think that's one of the best coaching jobs that nobody in the country is really talking about, but they need to start. He had to redo the entire roster. Another three. This time it's Aberdeen. That's a half dozen triples for the Gators.
Aberdeen, 35% on the year, has become a much better player in his junior year.
Strong take and a thunderous slam by Montgomery. Where did that come from? Maybe that's a wake-up call for Georgia. The transfer from Mount St. Mary's. That has the home crowd buzzing in silence. I mean, this is a flat-out facial.
Wow, the left-hander Montgomery in traffic. That is a one-handed, left-handed schwack'ems. My goodness.
Oh, he missed much of the early part of the season, had to get his academics in order. He was the Metro Atlantic Freshman of the Year a year ago. He's a Floridian out of Broward County, Florida. Martin picked up the loose change, drops the mid-range baseline, Jay. It's been that kind of half for the fifth-ranked Gators.
That's the old fumble it around, kick it around, make the shot at the end of the shot clock possession.
You drew that up a time or two, right? Newell, Kane on the wing. Missed everything. And then Houck in a battle for the rebound, a jump ball, and a nice job. Another winning play by Montgomery as the arrow goes to Georgia.
Take another look at Thomas Houck, the sophomore, who's made a big leap in his production from a year ago. You know what? I really like that call by Don Daly. Both guys had it. They're both falling out of bounds. No fouls involved.
Yeah. Oh, it's the right call by a veteran Final Four official, Don Daly. Don Daly, Steven Anderson, Patrick Evans, our crew today, as the shot clock ticks under 3 seconds to go. Montgomery just throws up a heave, hits the rim, but it took him too late to spot the shot clock. Under 2 minutes to play in a nearly perfect half for Florida. Coughing it up, Lawrence. Kane saves a bucket on the other end to Aberdeen, but yet another turnover on this Georgia squad.
It's an individual effort by Clayton, who anticipated that Lauren was going to go to his left as a left-hander. And that's what disrupted the play and forced yet another miscue by Mike White's team. Well, they got Houck inside on a seal.
You know, Mark, the obvious question, because when you look at these numbers, I mean, it's not often that an SEC team has 13 turnovers in the first half.
Right.
We want to give Florida credit defensively because they're getting after it, and they brought the intensity and the juice on the defensive end. But how much of it is that, and how much of it is just simple carelessness with the basketball for Georgia?
Well, when you get into a turnover mode, it's almost contagious. And I go back to this. Out of all those turnovers that Georgia's had in the first half, it's come from 9 different players.
Right.
And you asked Mike White, what's the next step at shoot around? He said, we haven't gone to like Okay, you're out if you turn the ball over. But in a game like this, who would you take out? It would be a revolving door.
That's a great point.
It would look like a hockey shift change.
Exactly. No, it's exactly what Coach White said when asked the question. Said, I might have to just start yanking guys. He might have to yank another one because it's another turnover and another easy bucket this time for Martin.
Are we seeing in this week the evolution of a 1-2-2 for Florida?
It's the reason they won on the road against South Carolina. They were down 14 late in that game. They went to the trap, and it completely changed the game. Full court pressure has worked again today for Florida. So has defense in the half court. Great job by Hauk. And Chinyelu, a little too ambitious on the alley-oop down low.
Yeah, that did not please Todd Golden at all.
Look at this. Already 14 steals, the most in an SEC game in 11 years.
Yeah. You know, if I were Aberdeen, what I would tell Todd Golden? I was thinking 2 for 1 there, Coach.
You're always thinking 2 for 1, and no one ever does 2 for 1. Kane drops it.
Now, he's been a bright spot.
He has. By the way, the 14 steals were the last game. Gators have had to settle so far for just 11 steals in this first half, but they have forced 14 turnovers. Shot clock is off. Aberdeen will milk it. Aberdeen, step back 3. That one rims off, and that is how the half will come to a close. And a memorable one at that for the Florida Gators. A 51.
Really good on the road. This is the first kind of stinker they've played defensively. Well, there's that pressure release again that they tried to run the first play of the second half, similar to the way the game started.
Martin led all scorers with 17. Down low to Condon. Muscles his way to the rim. Missed it. And out of bounds to Florida.
The way Georgia played in the first half with the giveaways, it has taken the game away from Asa Newell. He hasn't been able to get involved in anything.
No, he's only taken 3 shots. He's missed all of them. I don't know if Asa Newell has had a goose egg in the first half all year long, but that's what he put together in the first 20 minutes here.
Mismatch inside if they can get to it.
Shot clock at 1. A heave by Richard, and that one nearly got in. And then somehow Chinyelu got the rebound as Godfrey was not facing the basket. He never saw where the ball landed. And then Godfrey picks up a foul down low. That's a lot to ask for him to body 6'10", 260-pound Ruben Chinyelu.
Chinyelu did the early work, getting low leverage in his duck in, and that's what allowed him to catch it inside the restricted arc. Godfrey had no other choice other than to foul.
Chinyelu was a great find for Todd Golden. He's also the reason why Alex Condon is here, because that's how they stumbled upon the Aussie. They were going to see Ruben in a foreign showcase in Vegas, and they saw that Alex Condon was completely under-recruited and said, I want to get that man to Gainesville. They gave him the offer shortly thereafter, and he wound up making the decision to play for the Florida Gators. This bucket down low for Georgia. But they need to get some stops to get some runs and get back in this. Condon denied at the rim. Nice job by LeFew to poke it away. And our first jump ball of the second half will give the ball.
Watch this high-low action as Chinyelu gets the ball at the top of the key. There's a mismatch inside. Hold it right there. See the seal off by Condon? The throw over? That's taking advantage of a 6'5" guy on a 6'11" guy. That's a good assist by Chinyelu.
Alex Condon, 13-hour difference, so this game started about 3:30 in the morning back in Perth. Yeah. You're usually on about your 7th cocktail by then, Mark Wise. Luckily for us, it's a day game. Driving take, no. And Chinyelu had it, and a reach-in foul, and hurting himself on the foul was Demery. like hitting a brick wall.
That's the second time Georgia's worked very good offense to get an easy look and just haven't made the shot.
It's the third foul on Demery. They had Godfrey get into early foul trouble in the first half. He's got 3.
I don't know how Asa Newell keeps ending up on Clayton in a mismatch. And that's what happens.
And that's the other part of the mismatch. If you've got Newell 23 feet from the bucket, you've got a guard on Condon, and Condon takes advantage.
Wasn't that good recognition by Florida, though?
Absolutely.
The NBA lives off that.
LaFew sets up Newell. Newell has basically been a jump shooter for much of this game so far. Second chance Godfrey, and a foul on Chinyelu.
Good execution again by Florida. There's Newell matched up on Clayton, so there's a mismatch inside. The pass by Martin was spot on. The timing was spot on, because I think Condon sealed the defender but released to the basket. You've heard me talk about that with big guys. You've got to seal, release. If your teammate doesn't throw it, they just don't throw it.
Right. R.J. Godfrey, the son of Georgia football legend Randall Godfrey. Randall Godfrey knows a thing or two about Florida Georgia on the gridiron in Jacksonville. R.J. playing the Gators for the first time after transferring from Clemson. Remember, that's a Clemson team that made it to the Elite 8 last year. They lost to Alabama, who was the lone SEC team to punch its ticket to the Final Four. Clayton, no look pass to Condon. Backdoor cut Clayton. Three off the side of the backboard. That's a tough one to rebound. Gators get the offensive rebound. Chinyelu, little bully ball. He likes to set up that hook shot over the left shoulder.
I'm telling you what, Chinyelu and Godfrey, it is a wrestling match, block to block.
It certainly is. No lack of physicality down low. Newell with another 3. Newell is now 0 for 5 and still looking for his first points of the game.
Now he is capable of making threes, 30% on the year.
Condon going to work on the talented freshman. Left it short, got it back. Condon is just like a human avalanche down low. Demery, little teardrop, and he'll draw a trip to the free throw line.
Nice job of playing off 2 feet is Demery. Made an early 3 in the game. One of the struggles for Georgia, we've talked about it all night, has been their turnovers. Demery, the ball's in his hands a lot for Mike White. But on the year, Demery, 52 assists, 52 turnovers. That's a bad number.
It's not a good number for your starting point guard, that's for sure. We've got a women's basketball triple header tomorrow on the SEC network, but we're looking ahead at next Sunday's sensational quadruple header featuring 5 of the top 15 teams. That starts at noon Eastern time. A lot of numbers on that list as well, Mark Wise. Speaking of numbers, how about the numbers Dawn Staley and South Carolina put up against LSU? Gamecocks with a big win over Kim Mulkey's squad. I'm not sure, I don't care what the rankings say, if there's a better team in women's basketball in South Carolina this year. I haven't seen it yet.
Boy, the first quarter of that game was electric. I think the score was like 23-22. That looked short the whole way. That last game that we promoted, though, the Texas A&M game, Texas, they've got 5 ranked wins already this season. They just beat Tennessee. They've got 3 wins over top 10, and Madison Booker, talk about being on a heater for the Horns, averaging better than 25 a game over her last 3.
Asa Newell has finally scratched the scoring column, a follow-up dunk. Maybe that'll get the freshman going a little bit.
Now, if you're Todd Golden, you do not want to fall into the bad shot selection habit.
Still want to be all gas, no brakes, right? Godfrey
Yes.
muscles his way in, and all of a sudden, Georgia, a little bit of momentum, and Todd Golden senses, yes,
For Vandy, what Elijah Martin brings for Florida.
right there with you, the transfer from Michigan State. Yeah, he's been so valuable to that Vanderbilt squad. What a win for the Commodores. Martin nearly lost his footing and then throws it in the backcourt. So a turnover out of the timeout. Gators getting a little bit sloppy here to start the second half. Another timeout on the floor.
For Ole Miss, do yourself a favor and read the article about Jamin Brakefield that Gary Parrish wrote yesterday.
You know how I feel about the ultimate Swiss Army knife, Cam Matthews. He'll stuff a stat sheet, can dominate a game, scoring 5 points. Condon dominating the rim right now on an alley-oop. Condon with 11 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists.
Mike, I've been really surprised at how easy Florida has scored against the Georgia defense.
Everything about this game, quite honestly, is stunning. That's a foul on Condon. We could hear that slap from here.
Yes.
I mean, we knew when we talked about it with Coach White about the turnovers, but not to this extent.
Yeah.
And not the flurry of them that you saw in the first half, which in a lot of ways just took Georgia out of this game. It's going to take a lot to fight their way back into it, but it all starts with handling the basketball.
You mentioned this in the first half. I think players have to take ownership. At some point in time, you have to tell yourself, I am not turning the ball over.
Condon just picked up his 4th foul, so he'll have some pine time next to Coach Golden. A little lesson being learned here, because you might not need him this game, but there's going to be a game where Alex Condon is going to have to be a little more judicious about when to pick up a foul and when to avoid that kind of contact. He is so valuable on the floor. A 20-point game. Florida trying to make it 12 in a row against this Georgia program. Clayton, nifty move, up and under, finger roll with the left hand.
A little left-handed English, if you will.
Kane fighting for the rebound, scooped up by Alexis. Clayton, who was a star high school football player in the state of Florida, played for Coach Rick Pitino before transferring to Florida. Became a dad a year ago. Houck with 7 to shoot. Houck, strong take, got his own rebound, and a fresh 20-second shot clock for the Gators. Clayton blows by Kane, and another dipsy-do. One with the left, one with the right.
You said it in the first half, so smooth,
Yeah.
it comes effortless at times
Really
for Walter
does.
Clayton Jr.
Yeah. Just no rattle in his game. Newell, little shake and bake, and a nice move, just couldn't get it to drop. Out of bounds, and the referees say Georgia basketball.
We talk about the creativity at times of Walter Clayton Jr. It's been on full display in the last 2 possessions. Take a look. Here's the loose ball that went out of bounds first. We'll get back to it.
It'll be a thing of beauty when we see that one again, just as it was the first time. Hey, how about this? A thing of beauty for Texas. They upset A&M 70-69.
Trailed, I think, the whole game. I thought Wednesday night, weren't there 3 teams that won games that trailed more than 119 of the 120 minutes played in the 3 games?
Never seen anything like
it. Bizarre.
Peter Burns back in the SEC Network studios said it was the wildest night he has ever seen in 11 years of us bringing you SEC basketball here on the SEC Network. Look at that.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. One team led for 5 seconds, 14 seconds, 29 seconds.
Never count anybody out. Certainly Georgia would like to believe that. Trailing big here.
It's also why I believe you better have really good amnesia in this league this year.
Well, I'm with you there. We'll see how Auburn does tonight, a huge one against Tennessee, but I think everybody's going to be humbled at least once in this league, and some really good teams will be humbled multiple times. Whoa! Walter Clayton is putting on a penetration display. Right hand, left hand, heavy traffic, doesn't matter.
And sometimes because the game is so easy for him, you forget how explosive he can be at the rim.
Hydraulics for legs for Walter Clayton. He brings that football, quick twitch, physical play in a point guard's body.
See, those are the kind of fouls you have to call. That's getting bumped off your line.
Richard finds Aberdeen, and almost a wedgie, but a whistle and a foul on Georgia. We'll tell you
during the timeout, took a look at that last foul by Godfrey, and it has been upgraded to a flagrant one for a push in the back.
That's got to be a frustration. He's been a frustrated player today. The early foul trouble. Florida, quite frankly, has taken it to Georgia down low. It hasn't been just perimeter domination. They have won the battle of the bigs as Thomas Houck will go to the line for a pair. Speaking of guys who are under-recruited, Houck out of New Oxford, Pennsylvania, who joked with me a while back, yeah, where is it? It's in the middle of nowhere, Mike. It's 20 minutes from the Amish in Pennsylvania. Not a whole lot of athletes coming out of there. And here's Thomas Houck. That's just a two-hand shove, and that's going to be a...
That's the definition of excessive. And that's the very first one listed under flagrant foul.
Yes.
Look for something excessive or unnecessary.
My favorite part about that whole exchange of the call is that the review happened during a timeout. You and I have had some games where we've had a lot of stoppages in play for reviews. Alexis, two-man game to Houck, blocked. Great resistance at the rim by Georgia. 8 on the shot clock. Aberdeen, look at that, reverse layup for Aberdeen.
But it was Alexis getting himself into the picture of offensive rebounding that kept that possession alive.
Largest lead for Florida, a 30-point advantage.
Aberdeen, who passed up the three in the corner. Watch him go to the opposite side of the rim, up and under. And the great finish off the window.
He had his coming out party last year in the SEC tournament, 20 points, 4 of 5 from 3 against the Aggies in the semifinals. And the luxury to have him coming off the bench, he could start for about 300 D1 teams in the country. Nice take by Tyron Lawrence, who's been rather quiet so far today.
But Mike, that basket came out of the flow of the offense. I just don't think Georgia's been able to get into any kind of flow offensively.
You know, you and I love a good boxing analogy, right?
Yes.
Well, there were some haymakers thrown by Florida early on. That's going to count. I believe Alexis will get credit for that one.
Yeah.
But sometimes you'll see a team take an opponent's best punch early and then punch back later.
Yes.
You just feel like, in a lot of ways, it was almost a knockout blow. Nice move by Newell. They never could seem to get a combination back. And every time they tried to creep back in, a turnover, a big play by Florida's offense. Thomas Houck raining a 3.
What is it about Houck, who now has his second double-double in his career, but what is it about Houck
versus
playing Georgia?
Yes.
Because he had 17 in the game last year in Athens.
You and I had that. That was the Scout Buster, where he came out and hit 3 threes early on. not known for his three-point shooting. Really took Georgia to the cleaners in that game, and just about everybody getting in on the action for Florida in this game.
32% on the year, but had really struggled in league play. Just 1 for 9 from bonus land. Shot that with confidence. In double figures now for the 5th time this season.
It's a handful of different Gators that have hit a three-pointer in this game. Houck already with a double-double, 13 and 10.
Mike, this is the 2nd straight game for Georgia that they have made 5 threes in the first half and none in the second half. 2nd straight game.
Yeah.
Well, that's just miscommunication.
Richard thought about a pass, takes the three, turns around midair a la Steph Curry as it falls through the bottom of the net. He is having a little too much fun right now. Will Richard, the last couple of games, has put it all together.
What a great call by you. Because he knew it when it left his hands.
We'll see if we can get another look, but watch him start his pirouette. The ball is still midair.
Watch. Here he gets the pass, the ball fake. The ball's still in the air. He's turned his head right there. That's when you know things are going right.
Yes. Nine minutes remaining. Florida looking for 12 in a row against their border rivals. Dylan James, the 6'9" sophomore out of Winter Haven, Florida, gets the bucket. Aberdeen sneaks it through. If you're thinking Florida is all of a sudden going to slow it up and bleed clock with a 34-point lead, not going to happen.
Right. Their ability to get to the paint off that ball screen action out front has been really impressive. This is a bad foul. Richard knew it. He helped LeFew up. One of the few mistakes Richard has made today.
Now, regardless of what happens in this game, we should point out Georgia's resume is awfully strong, and they're about to play 3 out of the next 4 at home. That will come at the perfect time because they're reeling a little bit right now. SEC gymnastics, well, they've got the 13th ranked Georgia Gym Dogs taking on 10th ranked Alabama at 7, and that's followed up by LSU and Missouri. Friday Night Heights here on the SEC Network. He is the professor, Mark Wise, a man who's been known to do great work on the pommel horse.
I had no idea where you were going with that.
either, and honestly, I'm just glad it wasn't anywhere more dangerous than that.
You were talking about Georgia's resume. The win over St. John's, that's not going anywhere. The win over Kentucky, that's not going anywhere. And as you said, the schedule, if there is such a thing in this league this year, lightens up just a bit. 3 of their next 4 at home.
Yeah, 3 of the next 4 at home, including the Gamecocks, LSU, and Mississippi State. A chance for Georgia to play a little cleaner. Chinyelu fouled by Dylan James.
There's a lot of teams in the country right now that wished they had 2 quad 1 wins.
Yeah.
That's why that's so important. Their net ranking of 30 is interesting because for Todd Golden's team, it will be a quad 1 win until it's not. Meaning when Georgia, which will probably move into the low 30s, net 1 through 30 at home counts as a quad 1 win. So it's a quad 1 win right now. It will not be tomorrow. So if you're a Florida fan, guess what? I know this is tough for some of you to swallow probably, but you need to root for Georgia.
Well, these two teams will meet again on February the 25th. That'll be at the new hardwood at Stegman Coliseum. Their crowds have been terrific this year. I can't say enough about the student sections. Every venue we've been in this year in the SEC, It has been electric. They have come out in droves. It's no longer just one or two that make an impact on the game. I mean, it's 16 teams. They're all over the place.
And you and I go to Georgia in about 3 weeks. I'm very interested in seeing that atmosphere in person.
Yes. Have the students right behind us, just like we do here. The Rowdy Reptiles have had plenty to scream about. There were tents and students in line for hours this morning. And it's chilly here in Gainesville. It's in the 20s this morning. This is not Florida weather. 7-6-20 type of comeback, the way they are playing, Mark.
Yeah, they started sensationally. They've only built on that. But guess what, Mike? At the end of the day, it counts as one W. It doesn't count as 2 or 3 because you played super. So from that standpoint, you have to, when you play well, you have to be able to handle success in this league. I'm not sure Florida did a very good job of doing that after they beat Tennessee so handily here at home.
Right, and then lost to Missouri.
Lost to Missouri at home.
That's
not a belittling Missouri. We like Missouri.
We're both bullish on Mizzou, no doubt. They came in here, won it by a single point. And then I would say even when you have an exhausting comeback on the road, the way this Florida team did against South Carolina, it would have been easy to let their guard down at home against Georgia, just from the standpoint of that's the kind of win that takes a lot out of you.
Yeah.
But they, not only did they answer the bell, they came out swinging from moment one of this ball game.
Yeah, it's not only a physical grind over an 18-game schedule, it's an emotional grind.
Right.
And you've got to be able to handle the highs and the lows.
No doubt about that.
And you've heard me say this before, too. If you play a 32-game schedule, I fully believe that there's going to be a couple of games that you play just sensational, and a couple you're just going to stink the joint up, and you're going to live in the other 28 games.
Newell with a slam. And the Florida player is down. That's Martin. Well, when I play the game of golf, Mark, I'm not afraid to use a mulligan or 2 or 3. I think everybody in this league this year is going to have a mulligan performance.
Yes.
I just think that the league is too good that even if you're a great team, you're going to have a night, especially on the road, where you get humbled and things do not go your way at all.
Okay, can I put you on the spot?
I know where you're going. You're going to ask me if Auburn's going to have one of those games.
Auburn or Tennessee tonight?
I can't, especially Bruce, I watched game day today, sounded like he thought Janai Broome would go. It's up to Janai.
Right.
If Broome goes, there's no way I'm picking against Auburn in the jungle.
Yeah, I don't often agree with you.
That's true.
But Auburn in league play making 42% of their threes.
Yeah.
I don't know that Tennessee can score enough to stay up with Auburn, especially if Broome plays.
Without question. Tennessee would have to win a lower scoring game. By the way, Newell is starting to get more aggressive and starting to come alive. He's got 8 points now.
And that's his game right there. Get the ball up on the rim, go get an offensive rebound. He came into this game averaging almost 4 a night in league play.
He's from Destin, Florida, but really started his childhood in Athens. Has family that worked at the University of Georgia, including his grandmother, Jacqueline, and his grandmother, Eileen. And so there was already a tie to the school in Athens. And last year, Mike White had his brother Jaden Newell walk on. Jaden Newell has earned a scholarship and will start seeing more minutes, according to Coach White today at shoot-around. And obviously, Asa, it would be surprising with his stock being what it is if he was back for another year, because the NBA scouts love what that young man brings to the table.
And Mike, you talk to anybody in this Georgia program. We talked to Mike White this morning. We talked to Mike Mobley yesterday, as you take a look at the brothers. But we talked to Mike Mobley, who's missing today from the Georgia traveling party.
We miss you, Mobs.
Yes, Mobs. Wish you were here.
Good as it gets right there.
But everybody that you talk to about the Georgia program, about Asa Newell, talks about his humility, his work ethic, the fact that he hasn't had a bad day. Those are rare characteristics for a freshman.
outstanding point and an outstanding freshman that has all those intangibles. One thing we know about NBA scouts, they look for that too. They'll ask the question, did he bring it every day? Did he work hard in practice? Did he sulk when he had a bad game? All those questions will go to Mike White and will be on film, on tape, and NBA scouts will love this young man's attitude. Martin on a triple. Florida's cooled off a little bit, almost impossible not to from what they were shooting in the first half. And then, in the name of the late Bob Uecker, that pass just a bit outside, Mark Wise.
Yes, good passers throw strikes. They do not miss the catcher.
No.
But they sometimes hit the bull.
They sometimes hit the bull as we cross over from not one but two baseball movie references.
How about Clayton today, though, for Florida? Not only does he have 15 points, knocked down a 3, keeping his 3-point makes consecutive game streak alive, but he has 5 assists and 5 steals.
And only 1 turnover.
And that's impacting the game in more ways than just scoring.
What about, I'm going to let you, since we were speaking about NBA scouts, put your scout cap on.
Yeah.
He's built like a point guard in terms of size.
Right.
We know he played most of his career as a 2 guard. How do you see him projecting at the next level?
I think he projects as a point guard. The thing that he will have to get better at are what I call just quizzical turnovers. Where he doesn't seem to always see the floor sometimes in terms of getting into traffic. Like his assist to turnover ratio on the year is good. It's not great.
Right. I think it'll be fascinating to watch him. I know one thing, I wouldn't bet against him.
Right.
Clayton harassed by Rafue. Finds Martin. Martin on the mid-range. Shinyulu. And then flying in Condon. That's why teams hate playing Florida. It's the front court depth and the back court depth. Timeout called by Georgia. That'll leave the Dogs with 2 with 3:42 to play. Gators looking for their best start. If Clayton has an off night, you were talking about the magic of making an NCAA tournament run and how great teams fail to make it to the Final Four. When your best player has an off night, very often that's a recipe to be upset in March. And a methodical move that time by James. Some of the backups in for Florida now.
Oh, that's
and
what
here's
I'm
one
talking
of them.
about.
That's right for your heart. And that's Klobuchar catching it right off the bench and jacking a 3, just the way Mark Wise does in a rec ball. Alley-oop pass deflected away, scooped up by Richard. Full throttle to Clayton. Passed it up.
Klobuchar, everybody at Florida says he's a knockdown shooter, but he has struggled in his limited minutes. Just 3 for 16 now at the arc.
Clayton on a step back.
That's a next level shot.
Yes.
Create your own a little bit, space a little bit.
Yep. Especially when you're playing against bigger guards, which you'll find plenty of those at the next level. Speaking of guards, of course, Georgia, a prominent guard alum, Anthony Edwards, the Ant-Man, having another great year for Georgia. Well, the All-Star game is less than a month away, and he has been just sensational the last couple of years. Look at Anthony Edwards, 26 points per game, 44 from the field. I don't know if there's a better guard in pro basketball right now. He was a lot of fun to watch. It wasn't a great team, but he was a lot of fun to watch his 1 year in Athens.
When we were covering them that freshman year for him, and people would ask me, is he ready for the NBA? It was an emphatic yes.
Yeah.
Because he had an NBA body.
NBA
in the backcourt,
yeah,
and had great range. His decision-making at times was questionable. He's erased that, though.
He would do something I've never seen a player at this level do in practice. Nice little shot down low by Alexis. He would line up and he would have the trainers put special tape. Payne gets it blocked from behind. That's Isaiah Brown, the freshman guard. They have high hopes for him out of Orlando. Of course, you would expect to lose some guys from this backcourt, like Clayton, like Richard. There's going to have to be a new wave of guards for Florida a year from now. Hey, how about that? Justin Apson, transfer from Appalachian State.
That was crafty.
He was the Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Year last season. App State, one of the favorites in the Sun Belt this year. Driving take. How about that? Isaiah Brown, 1 minute, 4 points.
On cue.
Leaner? No. Rebound? Yes. The stick back for Dylan James. Final minute here in Gainesville. The Gators are going to make it a dozen in a row against the Georgia Bulldogs. The last time Georgia won, you got to go back to 2019. 2019, the last time Georgia beat Florida. And of course, part of this winning streak involves Mike White as the Florida coach beating Georgia.
Seems a little odd.
A little bit, yes. Now, these fans, many of them, particularly the students, waited a long time to get tickets. They have enjoyed every minute of the action today.
And if you're Georgia, flush this. Move on. Yep. You don't have any time to worry about it. Midweek, you've got South Carolina at home. That becomes the most important game of your season.
And they'll have 3 of the next 4 at home, and you're right. That'll be almost imperative to win to snap what will become a 4-game losing streak.
And Todd Golden's team has a bye midweek. They don't play until next weekend at Tennessee. This was a dominant win for Todd Golden and the Gators from wire to wire.
Tied for the best start in school history. The Gators are now 18-2 overall.